I'm just going to confirm. All right, awesome. Transcription has started. Okay, so we're underway here. Welcome to the third and final webinar in the Mindset series this month of November. Previously, at the beginning of the month, we covered behavior change, and then at the midway point of the month, Jeremy took us through a great presentation on stress management and self-care. Today, obviously, we're going to be going over goal setting. And from the start, I just want to point out that goal setting is pretty strongly related to behavior change. So if you haven't caught the behavior change webinar yet, we will make the slide deck available to you all again via email along with this one, and we'll also have YouTube recordings made available to everyone of all the mindset webinars we've done this month, all three. And remember, if you're a full-time Samsung employee, you want to earn some ShareCare points heading into the holidays, this is a great opportunity. We just want you to have attended or watched 2 out of 3 webinars, either live here on Microsoft Teams or on your own time via YouTube. So again, we'll make those resources and links available to you. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive in here. So goal setting, what are our goals for this webinar? Well, first, we want to reflect on our past failures and understand what puzzle pieces we might have been missing at the time in pursuit of our goals in the past. And then turning our attention forward, we want to re-identify our goals for work, wellness, life, your legacy, and beyond. And once we've identified those goals, we're going to follow what we call the why chain to identify our deepest motivations. And on the way, we want to recognize barriers that might impede our progress towards our goals. And finally, we're going to go over the S.M.A.R.T principle. That's an acronym. And that is a tool we can use to shape really quality game plans for achieving our goals. So we're going to go through all of these today, but we're going to start with some self-reflection. A lot of goal setting webinars will start off, they'll say, all right, I want you to think of, 1 to 3 long-term, short-term goals. We're actually going to look back before we look forward. So I want you to start by thinking about a time where you set a goal for yourself, but in the end, you were not successful. Now, I'm sure this has happened to all of us multiple times throughout our lives to different extents. Feel no pressure to share in the chat, but I want you to think of a time, and hopefully it's a little bit more of a significant goal versus a very small, short-term one that carried some meaning for us, but ultimately we were not able to attain it. And I just want to point out that an integral component of proper goal setting is being honest with ourselves, right? I said before, behavior change and goal setting, those two things are intertwined. They're like this, and neither can be performed optimally without practicing self-awareness. So self-awareness is huge if we want to be honest with ourselves and about the difficulties we might face along our journey towards our goals. But I think we can all relate to having failure before, and most of us can probably admit to ourselves that we failed because we didn't have the best game plan. Maybe we didn't put ourselves in position to succeed. So that's the question today. How do we put ourselves in the best position to succeed? We're going to start by setting our intentions, so to speak, talking about long-term goals and short-term goals. So instead of having you think of like 1 to 3 of each, I'm just going to have you come up with one longer-term goal. And now this goal could be related to your career, your family, your health, fitness, etc. It's up to you. And I want to point out that lofty goals, such as this one you're thinking of, perhaps, are good, but they can become disappointing if you give yourself too short of a timeline. If you put too much pressure on yourself, put too much on your plate, don't give yourself enough time, that might end up in a failure for you. So that's part of putting yourself in a position to succeed. But let's qualify that by saying long-term goals, we can always break those down into several smaller short-term goals. And that's a great strategy, a great approach to take to your long-term goals. Make it manageable, bite-sized pieces, right? I like to say short-term goals. They provide us with checkpoints along the way. They help us pace ourselves and create positive momentum towards that overarching goal. And completing those short-term checkpoints along the way, that rewards us with a sense of satisfaction, accomplishment, confidence. They keep us moving toward that primary objective, right? So let's go over a few common goal setting pitfalls before we really get into the weeds here. And I want to encourage people to try to avoid the all or nothing mentality. And I think this is something that at least at one point in our lives, we've probably all fallen victim to. You know, if I don't achieve this overarching long-term goal, none of this matters. None of the work, the effort, the time and energy I put in will matter if I don't fully succeed towards that goal. And I just want to point out that our efforts always matter, right? They're the wind beneath our wings. Essentially, the inertia churning our wheels. Those short-term accomplishments, like I said, they create that forward momentum, no matter how seemingly insignificant it might seem or feel, right? So give yourself credit for reaching those milestones, however small they are, however close together they might be. Just remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's a saying for a reason. I like to say it all the time, especially in regards to health and fitness goals. So just be kind to yourself and don't put all your eggs in one basket up here, at least. Try to break things down, you know, give yourself hurdles to get over, manageable hurdles, and you'll feel a lot better about the process and about yourself, even if you come up just a little bit short of whatever overarching goal you have on whatever timeline you put yourself on. So a second common goal setting pitfall would be the self-defeating prophecy, right? I can't achieve this. It's overwhelming. Why even bother trying? Like, where do I start? There's no way I'm going to succeed. And we kind of speak to fruition the failure that we fear. Some people will avoid even starting to pursue their goals because they don't know how to get started. It seems like such a long and arduous journey up that mountain. There's too much adversity to account for, and they don't really trust themselves to handle it all perfectly. But just remember, it's never going to be all perfect. We're all human, right? Progress is not always linear. And that fear of failure or imperfection can be paralyzing. But I urge you to not count yourself out before you've even begun. If you don't believe in yourself, who's going to, right? It all starts here with you. As Yoda says, do or do not, there is no try. But now we're going to start examining our motivations here. We want to identify our why. You see this sentence here in green. I want to because, oh, opened up a note. I want to blank because blank. I want to XYZ so that I can ABC. So fill those blanks in with your long-term goal and that first instinctive reasoning that hits you. That motivation, that initial motivation you feel towards that goal. Why do you want to get there? But before we start putting together a game plan, we want to realize and harness our deepest motivations. Now that surface level initial reasoning, that might not be our deepest motivation all the time. So we can dig a little deeper and we can discover our root motives by following the why chain. So ask yourself why repeatedly. Why do you want to achieve this? And if it's a health and fitness goal, for example, some of those surface level reasons you might feel right off the bat would be I want to look good, I want to become fitter, I want to feel better, I want to reduce my risk of injury or illness. But like I said, don't be afraid to dig even deeper than that and ask yourself additional questions like, who are you doing this for? Is this purely for yourself? Is it for your family? Are you making a change for your friends or your coworkers? Keep asking yourself those W questions. Some additional whys I like to ask myself about my goals would be, well, why will this benefit me if I do it? And then think about all of the advantages that taking action towards that change might provide you with. How will it benefit you? And then on the other hand, ask yourself, why would not doing this affect me negatively? And you can think about all the disadvantages that taking no action towards that goal might have. And down here, I have a little template, and feel free to copy it or write it down later or now, and run through a little exercise with yourself. I like to encourage people to frame it just in terms of these two things, because we want to push ourselves towards our goals and not give ourselves reasons to give up, right? But if you want to practice the whole shebang here, so to say, think about what disadvantages taking no action might have, but also what advantages taking no action might have too. And then you consider the disadvantages and advantages of taking action, of pursuing your goals. And over here, you'll see a little example for general health and fitness. All right, well, if I take no action towards my health and fitness goals, what are some of the consequences? I might have poor health, shorter life, my medical bills might be higher, I might experience excessive weight gain. But on the other hand, I don't have to put on any effort, right? I can eat what I like, I can drink what I want, and I can just relax a lot. But if I don't take action, I'm going to miss out on a lot of things in this bottom row here, right? The advantages of pursuing those health and fitness goals are tenfold. They're lifelong, and they're absolutely worth taking action on, regardless of what is up here in this top row. You're going to live longer and be happier. Generally, you're going to feel better, feel fitter. You'll have more enjoyment and day-to-day life, more energy devoted into your day. And even if it's scary that you might have to put in a lot of effort and ask for help, and you might feel failure, or your willpower might be tested, that's all going to be worth it. I promise you. So anything else in these three squares over here, it's all going to be worth it for your goal. That's just something to keep in mind if that goal is really important to you. But then we want to break down barriers, right? We've identified our why. We've thought about that. We've reflected on past failures and what might have gone wrong. And that might help us inform what barriers we're going to encounter. Maybe again, if it's a long-term goal that you failed at in the past, that's okay, right? Failure lends us the most valuable lessons in life. I like to think it's certainly been the case for me. So perhaps the most important aspect of that self-awareness I started off this presentation by talking about is knowing those weaknesses and our past failures, because we can leverage those to be proactive in pursuit of our goals. So hopefully, as I'm speaking about this, you're thinking about what barriers you might run into along the way and what steps you could take to overcome them. And in that, we want to determine strategies that could facilitate success. What is going to get us over those hurdles, around those obstacles? And again, just practice self-reflection. Like what ingredients do you think you were missing last time? Look inwardly and try to be honest with yourself. What factors worked against you? And then on the other hand, which practices aided you on your journey? What tools in your tool belt did you deploy that helped you some? Because we want to understand which repeated behaviors will lead to our desired outcomes. What practices will lead us to success? And that will look different from person to person, from goal to goal. But just want to encourage you to start thinking about all these different factors in your journey towards your goal. But finally, we're going to move on to the SMART principle here. All right, it's an acronym. I like to tell people start with SMART. And that's an acronym, right? S.M.A.R.T. Each letter here stands for something. We're going to devote a slide to each of these, right? First one is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time sensitive. This is a rule you want to adhere to with all your long-term goals. Okay, so let's dive in. Specific goals, what are they? Well, all goals, both short-term and long-term, as I said, those should be specific. What precisely are you trying to accomplish? Because if you start with a goal that's too broad or too vague, that can leave you too much wiggle room sometimes. I like to say ambiguity strips us of accountability. You might find yourself thinking in your process towards a long-term, vaguer, broader goal. Well, I never established any exact rules for myself, so I can afford to be flexible. I can afford to eat this entire apple pie at Thanksgiving. Well, maybe that's a little bit over the top. Maybe we should have set some more concrete guidelines for ourselves on a day-to-day basis, including or not including holidays. Just one example. But the research shows that the more specific our goals are, the more likely we are to stick with them. So a couple examples of specific SMART goals would be, I want to eat more leafy greens. I want to improve my leg strength. Those are both two specific things, right? And that might seem pretty vague still off the top for you, but let me run us through our paces here with the SMART principle, and we'll get these boiled down to something more specific. So the next letter in our SMART acronym is measurable. We should be able to determine our success towards every goal, long-term and short-term, again, with concrete metrics, right? If we can't measure our success, how will we know when we've succeeded or when we've failed, when we've reached our destination or when we've come up short? Giving your goal a quantitative measurement will help you know when that time is. So a couple examples of measurable goals. Well, I want to eat 3 servings of vegetables per day. I want to exercise at least 3 times per week. And that might seem very simple and intuitive, but you would not believe how many people just miss this easy slam dunk when it comes to goal setting. You know, attach a number to it, make it measurable. And we have a number of people in the chat today, I think, or in attendance today, that this might apply to, but I would say that measurable goals helps the most diligent lifters and runners sustain their progress. You think about it, right? They're almost always training towards measurable weights, distances, or times. Okay, I want to lift this weight for this many reps, or I want to run this distance in this amount of time. I want to get a 1 mile or 1 kilometer pace over this distance. That attaches a lot of context to your goals, and it gives you a clear target to shoot for. So this is a very powerful part of the SMART acronym. I like to say measurable goals create milestones, milestones create momentum, and then momentum makes success. So you can kind of see the domino effect that I'm trying to illustrate for you here. But we'll move on. The third letter in the SMART acronym, which is A, for actionable. Sometimes you might see this denoted as attainable or achievable. I like to keep it to actionable. I think it differentiates a little bit more from the next component of the SMART principle, which is realistic. And we'll get into that and why or how it differs from actionable. But actionable, that just means you want to attach a specific action to your goal that helps you identify how you're going to achieve it. I want to go, let's say I want to eat more leafy greens. I want to eat 3 servings of vegetables per day. All right, what action am I going to take to do that? How am I going to go about it? How am I going to put myself in a position to succeed? Well, I will go grocery shopping on the weekends and prep my vegetables, you know, roast them, whatever it is, over the weekend, so I have them ready to go and I can just heat them up and consume them during the week. If you're someone who's into any sort of meal prep, that might work for you. Or, you know, you're talking about training legs 2 times a week. All right, well, I'm going to take the action of training lower body on Wednesdays and Fridays. So now I've gotten a little bit more specific with that goal. It's a little bit more measurable. Did I lift legs on Wednesday and Fridays? Did I hold myself to my how action here? And like I said, that's just lending that distinct action to a goal contextualizes things to us, determining exactly how we're going to act on those specific and measurable objectives, right? So all 3 of these acronyms are linked down this little chain of this principle. And we'll move on to the next link in that chain. And that's going to be R, realistic. All goals, we gotta keep it real, you guys. All goals should be grounded in reality. When we set unrealistic goals, we set ourselves up for failure. Try not to do that. This is why goal setting is so important. We don't want to defeat ourselves before we even get started because we didn't plan well. So realistic goals, they're just goals that are the three things we just went over, right? They're specific, they're measurable, and they're actionable. You want to set goals that are attainable in a manageable amount of time, which of course is the final and next component of this principle. But doing so will help you surpass milestones more frequently and generate that positive momentum, right? You're just going to pile up those checkpoints. You know, you're feeling good, you're accomplishing things, crushing those bite-sized goals, the smaller incremental successes that will lead you to the grander overall success. So I like to say, set realistic goals, set yourself up for success, and avoid setbacks. So how do we put this in context of an example, or of the two examples we've gone over so far? Well, I'm only currently eating 1 serving of vegetables per day. I would like to get up to 3. That feels doable. That feels realistic to me. And if 3 doesn't feel realistic, at least not right away, not right now, well then break it up into increments. All right, well, within the next 2 months, I would like to get up to eating 2 servings of vegetables per day. And then we'll advance to 3 beyond that 2 months. And that makes it a little bit more realistic for us, you know, given where we are in our life and what we're capable of. I'm only currently training legs once per week. I would like to train lower body at least twice per week. That seems pretty easy to do. You know, you're just doing a few more sets of leg exercises over the course of 7 days. I mean, you can't make it more simple and incremental in terms of goal setting than that. All right, and the last component of the SMART principle, time sensitive. You know, you sometimes might hear this denoted as time bound or timely. They all mean the same thing realistically, and that's that goals should always be given realistic timelines or deadlines whenever possible, because doing so keeps us on track for success. Those realistic timelines we set for ourselves, those manageable deadlines, those will allow us to pace ourselves, to capitalize on our momentum, and will allow us to avoid burnout while maintaining our accountability. So I want to eat up to 4 servings of vegetables per day within 3 months. All right, that might be a little bit short of a timeline. Maybe we bump that up to 4 months. You know, by 2 months, we're 2 servings of vegetables per day. 3 months, 3 servings of vegetables. All right, 4 months, I'm ready for that 4th serving of vegetables. I've set myself a realistic timeline and deadline that I think is doable for me personally, because I've thought about this and I know myself. I'm self-aware. I want to start training legs twice every week within the next 2 months. All right, that's super doable. I have 2 months to get it down to twice a week, get on that cadence, and start to maintain that consistency, to develop a routine. Just keeping it realistic in that regard will keep me on track. It will avoid those setbacks, those failures, those pitfalls that I mentioned before. So we've gone over now our SMART goal, or our SMART principle, I should say, overall. Let's put it all in a context that makes sense. Right? We've gone piece by piece. Let's put the puzzle pieces together to create this puzzle, and go over the stages of creating a goal that is SMART overall. All right, so we start specific. I want to eat more vegetables. That, again, that might not feel specific, but that's specific enough for our purposes. All right, we need to make that goal measurable. Okay, how am I going to eat more vegetables? Well, I want to eat at least 3 servings of vegetables per day. Okay, that is a very concrete goal. I've attached a number to it. Perfect. I can measure my success towards that. If I get 2 or less servings per day, I've come up a little bit short. 3 or more, I've succeeded. Excellent. Now I can move on to the actionable component of this goal setting process. What actions am I going to take? How am I going to do this? Well, again, we went over it before on the actionable slide. I'm going to go grocery shopping and prep my vegetables over the weekend. Perfect. That's how I'm going to do it. Now, how do I make this realistic? All right, well, 3 servings of vegetables per day. That seems like a little bit much right off the bat. I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold myself to that. So like I said, maybe I start with 2 servings of vegetables per day and the first 2 months. Moving on to our time sensitive goal over here. All right, it's realistic, 2 servings of vegetables per day. I can do that in the short term. That's doable. And I'm going to give myself a timeline here to hold myself accountable, keep myself on pace, give myself a deadline. Within 2 months, I need to have accomplished that at least. And then I can turn my attention to those 3 servings of vegetables per day. So let's put it all together here. Let's make it a SMART goal. I will be eating 3 servings of vegetables per day within 3 months. Right? That's a specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-sensitive goal. That's a great goal. So that's how you build it out. And then you can just, take the vegetables out of the equation, insert whatever you want to work on. Again, this doesn't apply just to health and fitness. Lots of other aspects of your life, whether it's work or family. Feel free to use this approach. It is very sound and commonly used for good reason. So let's go over a few tips and tricks before we wrap things up here in regards to goal setting. I encourage you to check your progress regularly, because if you do that, it's going to help you remain responsible. It's going to keep you accountable. It's also going to create those opportunities for those short-term triumphs over those incremental milestones you created, right? Line up those checkpoints for yourself and celebrate the small wins. And that's going to help keep you on the ball. It's going to keep you feeling good and confident. Lots of positivity to be drawn from that. There's also strength in numbers, right? Don't be afraid to recruit a partner who's on the same page, in the same boat. Maybe they want to work on a similar goal. You guys can hold each other accountable. We see this all the time in a fitness center context. Maybe you have a lifting partner or workout partner, what have you. Maybe back in school, you had a study partner or a study group. Same principle applies here to goal setting. Even if they aren't actively involved in the process of pursuing those goals, maybe it's not a personal goal for them. Maybe it's just a significant other or a friend or a coworker. You can still ask them for help. Hey, make sure I do this, or hold me accountable. Call me on it if I come up short or I'm not doing what I need to do. And that help can go a long way. Peer pressure works. Not saying it's a good thing, but it works. Something to think about. And like I said towards the beginning of this presentation, progress, it isn't always linear, right? Failure happens to all of us. The journey is never going to be perfect, but what matters is how we respond and what we learn from it, what we take away from those failures, the lessons that they lend us. That's going to strengthen us moving forward. So try not to fear failure, even though it's scary, and try not to just give up when the going gets tough or your progress doesn't seem to be always that straight line trending upward. It might dip down occasionally, but overall still maintaining that diagonal momentum upward towards your goal. Just keep that in mind. And another approach you could take is to gamify your goals or to leverage a reward system. And that could look very different for a lot of different individuals with different goals. But in doing so, we're just more likely to do things that are fun, interesting, rewarding, or engaging. So, hey, maybe you want to gamify your goals of health and fitness by attending Jeremy's new boot camp class virtually, right? Boot camp, it changes from week to week. It's a real good compact workout. It keeps it interesting and engaging. So that's a way to kind of gamify things and gamify fitness. And then you don't have to go into a gym yourself and be like, oh, what do I do? How do I make this fun and interesting? And how do I come back day after day? Those classes can go a long way. Taking classes with other people, that peer setting, that really helps. So just something to think about. And reward system, if you line up a certain amount of those short-term goals, you're checking those boxes off one by one. Feel free to reward yourself every now and then. You know, it doesn't just have to be intrinsic sort of satisfaction being your only reward. You know, maybe you take the family out for dinner or something, or go to a movie. You know, whatever it is that you find motivating and rewarding, you can attach that to your goal and use that to your advantage. And the last thing is just to be kind to yourself, right? We went over this in the stress management and self-care webinar earlier this month. You need to allow yourself to be human in pursuit of your objectives, because we're all human. We're not robots. Again, it's not going to go perfectly. At all times, we're going to fail, but ultimately that failure is what makes us stronger. Now I'm going to go over a few things that you have at your disposal here at SRA to help you along the way towards your goals. Let's say you have health and fitness goals. Well, you get a free gym membership as an SRA employee, which is pretty awesome considering what they charge for gym memberships these days. All you have to do is sign up for a free one on MindBody Online. If you would like to do so, feel free to drop your email in the chat, or just, you know, shout us out on chat. You could also email either one of us, and I'll show the emails at the end of this presentation. But like I said at the beginning, we're going to be sending out this entire slide deck with the hyperlinks via email afterward. And, you know, I spoke on a reward system briefly there. Anyone who's a registered full-timer who participates in and completes our monthly wellness programs will earn share care points. You can use those share care points on a bunch of free stuff, like Fitbits, fitness equipment, electronics like headphones, earbuds, Google Home, you name it. It's all in there. So feel free to follow this hyperlink. Take a peek if you aren't familiar with share care points. Our monthly programs are very accessible to all levels. We try to make them realistic, right, and measurable in terms of how you can complete them. For this month, for example, if you were to attend one of these webinars live, and maybe watch another one on YouTube, or you caught at least 2 live or caught 2 on YouTube, you qualify for those share care points. All right, so use those. It's holiday season. It's almost time to give some gifts out. And then you can also join the Samsung MTV Slack channel, MTV Fitness Slack channel. That's where we post all of our current offerings. And if you aren't on Slack, well, you could always throw us a follow on Instagram as well, at SRA Wellness. We follow back if you so wish us to. And the last part is, feel free to contact myself or Jeremy here in the chat to schedule a remote coaching consultation. We can set you up with a meal builder and a personalized exercise program to go off and do to help you achieve whatever your goals are. And that program will be suited to you as an individual. Last couple things I want to cover before I get to the chat and wrap things up. Next month's monthly share care program is the December Decathlon. That's starting this Thursday on the 1st of December. There's still time to register. You want to scan that QR code there. You can register real quick. Or again, just let us know in the chat if you'd like to take part. We'll get you in there. All you have to do is complete at least 5 out of 10 wellness activities. Half. Just complete half. You have 21 days to do so. It's very easy. It's very easy. We're just giving away free stuff, basically. There's no reason not to participate in this. Your health and wellness will thank you. It's very holistic. We've got another webinar actually happening on the 13th of December on healthy holiday eating. I hope you guys will attend. There should be a lot of great information there. We're pulling in London from the Bon Appetit team. So that should be great as well. Keep an eye out for a calendar invite coming soon. Last thing I want to promote is our group exercise schedule. We just debuted a brand new schedule this week. We've got a couple new classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. virtually on our YouTube channel. YouTube Live. Jeremy is teaching No Gear Get Up. You're going to work on foundational movements, mobility, flexibility. It's just a great way to get moving, get your blood flowing, and wake up in a holistic manner every Tuesday and Thursday. So be sure to attend those. They will be made available on our YouTube channel afterward if that time doesn't work for you. So just be sure to click on the hyperlinks here. Once you get this slide deck from us, follow them to our YouTube channel. Everything we post video-wise is there. And then tomorrow night, I have a new class as well. It's HIT here in the fitness center at 6 p.m. We'll probably go until about 6:30 each day. Nice compact interval training workout, up tempo for a little bit more of a cardiovascular kick to your training regimen. And like I said, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to contact us anytime. I can be contacted on Slack at trevor.bd or trevor.bradley-dade at teamexos.com. You can get to Jeremy at j.alfonso on Slack or jeremy.alfonso at teamexos.com. But I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here and take a peek at the chat, see if there's anything in here we need to cover. Oh, excellent, Blake, coming through. Anything else we need covered? All right, doesn't look like we have any questions. Awesome. All right, well, I think we can stop recording there. Thank you so much, Blake and Jeremy, for the support.